Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, A Conversation with Death. The man who rules the world and the angel of darkness take on a horde of demons in this inaugural John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, A Conversation with Death for 99 cents on Kindle or in paperback today. I was doing some research for my new nonfiction book, The Man Crisis, and I came upon several articles that said that men were opting out of the American job market. And because so many men were opting out of the job market, many were pondering if this was a future crisis coming to America. Now, according to the statistics I had read, only 7% of able bodied men in their prime age from 25 to 54 years old were actively looking for work. And a significant majority of men, 93%, were not actively looking in the job market, and many had left the job market overall. And as I looked at the statistics, it stated that a significant number of men had become disabled, and another group of men decided to retire early because they had gotten advanced degrees and built wealth. And another group of men decided to just give up overall. And another group, that small 7%, was the only group that was actively looking for work on the regular. Now, when I take a critical look at those statistics, I see the long term impact of gynocentrism on America because the number of women who have entered the workforce and are working right now are a large majority of the workforce. And because we have a large majority of women working in the workforce, we have these females in human resource departments participating in female on group preference. And I believe that because we have so many females participating in female on group preference, what they're doing is choosing women over men, and what that's doing is leading to men deciding to get frustrated, throw up their hands, and then walk away from the American job market. That's one of the things I believe that has led to so many men walking away from the American job market because I've gone on numerous interviews for numerous companies, and many of these women do not even try to ask good questions, and they show absolutely no interest in hiring a man because, in many cases, many of these women want to have their female on group preference, and many of them want to maintain gynocentric fiefdoms in their jobs. And they fear bringing a man into the job because they fear male authority will destroy their fiefdom, and they fear that this man will compete with them and then surpass them. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that so many men have a hard time in the American job market. Now, also, as it relates to those statistics and men walking away from the American job market, is the statistic of these men deciding to just retire early. And a lot of guys, they do have that option because a lot of guys who have started businesses and have advanced educations, they can do that because they have built wealth over the early course of their lives in their 20s and their 30s. And in their mid 40s to early 50s, these men have an option to go out and retire and just enjoy their lives. And a lot of guys are doing that because they've started successful businesses at an early age. They've built up enough wealth. They now have revenue streams instead of are looking for a paycheck. And those guys are out here and they're saying that they don't need to work, so why should they go work for someone else when they've already built up enough wealth to be able to take care of themselves well into their old age? So those men have just decided to walk away from the American job market in their prime years because in their early years they finally made enough money to take care of themselves. They've developed these revenue streams like these YouTube channels, or they've gone out here and developed things like book properties or other intellectual properties, and they're living off those properties, so they're living well off those properties. And when another group of men is decided, they just are frustrated with the whole thing. Again, they've run into the HR brick wall created by females, and they've decided to just walk away from the entire job market overall. Now, there's another group of men who are disabled, And was the troubling statistic that this was a large group of men that had become disabled because a lot of men in that group, they had worked a lot of trade jobs, a lot of construction, or a lot of other type of jobs, and they were living off disability because they had gotten injured and they could not re-enter the job market. Now, what's really troubling again is that the final statistic was that only 7% of men were actively looking for work and actively trying to find work. And that's a troubling statistic because, in order for a business to be able to stay in business, it needs a pool of quality workers, and most importantly, it needs a pool of quality men working in a business. Because, in order for a business to grow, you need men in place. Because when it comes down to men, men are extremely stable workers, and men bring the highest return of investment to a business. Because when it comes down to females, they work fewer hours and they turn over faster than a man would. When a company hires a man, they are usually going to get a higher return of investment on that man's labor because that man, in many cases, what he's going to do is he's going to work longer hours, he's going to open up new marketplaces, he's going to create new products, and he's going to bring in new pools of customers. And he's going to do that because he sees that there's a reward for his risk. However, as I'm seeing from these statistics and what I'm hearing in the manosphere, a lot of men are not seeing these returns on investments for working for other people these days, and that's why a lot of men are no longer really actively looking for work in the American job market. Because when they take a look at the American job market, they really don't see a lot of return on investment for themselves. They see a hostile work environment that is controlled primarily by women. They see a work environment where they can have their careers and their lives put at risk by a movement like a Me Too movement, where an allegation of sexual harassment or sexual assault can derail their careers and derail their way of making money. And they see a work environment controlled by many bosses who have unrealistic expectations, unrealistic ideas about the duties of a job, and leaders who really don't want to lead or take responsibility. And they see a workplace that is extremely hostile to men. So that's one of the reasons I believe many men are opting out of the American job market, because when they take a critical look at the American job market, they say to themselves, what's in it for me? And because they're saying what's in it for me, they're seeing that there's not much in it for them. So many men are just opting out of the American job market because they just don't see any significant value to being a part of that American job market. Because when it comes down to many American jobs, they're probably saying to themselves, there's not much money in the American job market because in the gynocentric workplace, they usually don't pay very well. The environment is extremely hostile, and the risk of a man losing his job is so high that there's not much reward for it, and the ability to get promotions is next to impossible, with many of these companies being fiefdoms where female on-group preference makes it where all females get all the advancement and they get none of the abilities to advance or move forward in their careers. So that's some of what I'm seeing as related to the change in the American job market and why men are opting out of the American job market. And again, this is a troubling set of statistics because you need prime age men in the job market if you hope to build a civilization, maintain a civilization, and maintain standards and a quality of life in a community. Because if you do not have a group of men in your society working in society, then you don't have men to go out here and be able to be the ones have resources. And without men having resources, women have no one to get resources from. So this whole number of men walking away from the American job market, again, this is going to have a domino effect on the overall American economy, because when you don't have a pool of men working on the regular, that means the entire economy, while it's booming right now, could soon go bust, because if you don't have that pool of men out here working on the regular, on these jobs, or working towards building something, then you're not going to be able to maintain a civilization on the regular overall. So again, when I look at those statistics which tell me that men are leaving the workforce, that's telling me that we're going to be in a crisis sooner rather than later. If you'd like to read my new upcoming book, The Man Crisis, I'm hoping to have it out later this year. And this is a nonfiction book that really you need to read, because we have a serious crisis as related to men and the way we are raising men in American society, because the way we are raising men in society and the way we are treating men in society is leading to these men walking away from the whole overall civilization of America and opting out of participating in many social behaviors. And if you want to read my other men's issues books like Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance, Manginas, They Look Like Men But They Act Like Ladies, and The Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho, and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, and Stop Simping in the Workplace, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.